After the first week of football, who'd have thought Alabama would be right back on the top? After a couple losses, Texas would have a chance to be back where they are. And we've all kind of watched Texas A&M and Ole Miss kind of jump right in the hunt. And, that Texas A&M's kind of become my dark horse because they can beat you offensively and they can beat you defensively.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But Tua goes out there, my kids love me. I'm rich. I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, the Dolphins press conferences make it way worse. If I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
This one's for you, Tommy Reynolds. I know you're a Rochester Americans guy, but the big team, the Buffalo Sabres, at home against the listless Rangers. Can we get plus 102? We can in overtime. Knockaroo does it again. Buffalo over the Rangers.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on Sports.
It's time to rise and grind. It's the early line. It's a Monday morning. It's Armchair Quarterback Monday, and that's the way we get down to business on the SportsGrid Network. Over the next 2 hours, the topics are going to flow. Major League Baseball. You want some NHL? You want some NBA on the horizon? Yeah, because when you wake up tomorrow, it officially is on the horizon. So many things to get to, so much fun to be had, even though it wasn't a great weekend for the NFL. The SEC was on full display in college football. So much good stuff. The energy, is high here. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Joe Ranieri. And Joe, I know your Jets put on one of those displays you probably expected yesterday. What a weekend of sports.
It was unbelievable weekend in sports, Donnie. And it's, the good news is we're getting a Game 7 tonight. We got 2 Monday Night Football games. And like you said, the NBA kicks off tomorrow, NHL games. It truly is the most beautiful time of year, Donnie.
It is a great time of year here because when we celebrate the sports aspects here, we like moments of greatness. You didn't get a lot yesterday, but there still is something caffeinated about, Joe.
Yes, Donnie, I got to tell you, it was an unbelievable weekend. We need to talk about what we just witnessed because over the last 72 hours, it was one for the history books, Donnie. We are in, and I'll say it time and time again, it's my favorite time of year, but it's the single greatest time of the sports calendar. And we just saw some of the most incredible record-breaking performances that you will ever see in a generation. And it all started, Donnie, on Friday night. And I'm not sure how else to phrase it or say it, but we witnessed the single greatest baseball game ever played by one person, and that was Shohei Ohtani. And we're talking 150 plus years of unbelievable baseball, and one guy shattered everything that we know. What did he do in a playoff clinching game? Well, he was the starting pitcher. He hit 3 home runs. One absolutely left the stadium. He was on the mound. He struck out 10 guys, gave up 2 hits, He hit more home runs than he allowed hits, Donnie. He threw pitches over 100 miles an hour. He did something Babe Ruth never did. He did something no human has ever done on a baseball field. It was over the top. It was pure. I'm not even sure if greatness is the right word to use there to describe what we just witnessed on Friday. And then you talked about yesterday, the matchups weren't great, but the individual performances also record-breaking. You had Matt Stafford yesterday go over 24 hours, by the way, prior to the game, hops on an airplane with the rest of the team, and they show up in London. And what does he do? He sets the record for the most passing touchdowns in an international game ever. He threw 5 TD passes in that game. Drake May, your rookie, well, I guess sort of rookie, right? But broke Tom Brady's franchise record for completion percentage. Over 91% completions in that game yesterday. You had Patrick Mahomes doing something no other quarterback has done since 2000. He threw for over 200 yards and 3 TDs on the first 3 drives of the game, Donnie. You had your boy, Jalen Hurts, posting a perfect 158.3 passer rating. And then, of course, you had that craziness with Denver and the Giants. You had Bo Nix becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 2 TDs and run for 2 TDs in a single quarter, Donnie. And that's the whole point this morning, is that we get so caught up in the day-to-day grind, Donnie, the wins, the losses, the handicap, who was right, who was wrong. And sometimes we forget to just stop and appreciate the incredible once-in-a-generation talent that we are watching right now. This is truly, I think, a golden era for professional athletes, Donnie. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster than they've ever been. There's more talent now than we have ever seen in any other generation. We should be soaking it in every chance we get. Haley's Comet is Ohtani, people. Only comes around once every, 75, 76 years. So let's appreciate greatness when we have it, because let's be honest, Donnie, it could be so much worse. You could be a New York Jets fan and watch that offense every day of the week. That's, my friend, be thankful for what you have, not what you don't have, and appreciate the greatness while it's here, Donnie.
Absolutely. And by the way, great caffeinated Joe there, as we talk about, Shohei Ohtani. He's going to get unfairly judged over the next 5 years. If Ohtani hits for average and pitches average, he should win the next 10 Cy Youngs if he's a good pitcher, but also more importantly, 10 MVPs. He's that good at this point right now. Let's get to the early lineup on a Monday. A lot of stuff happened yesterday. Maybe not a lot of stuff in the night game here. Pretty boring. 20-10 victory over the 49ers. I don't know how they win, but they keep racking up the wins. Kyle Shanahan certainly up there for possibility of coach of the year. They stymie the running game for the Atlanta Falcons and come away with a double-digit win. Welcome back, Christian McCaffrey. 129 yards, 2 tutties on the ground. That's pretty good.
Football is so unique, Donnie. The NFL is so unique because it is such a coaching league, right? Coaching matters. What Robert Saleh did and the game plan that he came up for Penix Jr. and everybody else on the Atlanta side after they looked absolutely unstoppable against the Bills was pretty darn impressive. And he's doing it with a whole bunch of backup dudes on the defensive side. Just absolute great coaching on display, and of course, getting it done. And I don't know, is Mac Jones a starting quarterback in the NFL now, Donnie? What are we missing here?
I don't know. He threw a touchdown and didn't even throw a touchdown yesterday, and they still won. That just shows how good that defense did play. And by the way, if you're Raheem Morris, one quick point here. You take the football to start that game when you win the toss, which means you're going to be aggressive. Have a 4th and a football. You don't go for it with the best running game in the NFL. Yeah, that set the tone for the game, Raheem. Congratulations on taking the football and then punting it on a 3 and out. Jaden Daniels, you never want to see this. They will tell you everything, right? Oh, he's going to leave the game early. Just precautionary. He's going to get an MRI. You know when last time we heard that was Lamar Jackson. Oh, come on. He's just going to be just fine. Just get him a quick MRI. We haven't seen Lamar in weeks. We won't see Jaden Daniel for weeks. Blown out, and your quarterback goes down. Tough scene for Washington.
The minute he got tackled, Donnie, on that play and came up and he was grabbing the back of the leg and the hamstring, you just knew what was going on there. We're like, yep, nope, this is not good for Washington. Didn't matter. The over still went flying over that ridiculous 54.5, 55.5 total, Donnie. But my goodness, now you got Marcus Mariota back. Could that be the next rejuvenation project here, right? Marcus Mariota, little throwback as now as the starting quarterback. This should be interesting to watch unfold.
Yeah, Dan Quinn, congratulations on your defense as a defensive guy. Shelled yesterday once again. And by the way, Justin Fields, I've been calling for it. He's not a quarterback, but if you can make him a tight end, he can add to your team. Have no idea why they keep running him out of quarterback. The charade finally ended Sunday, and we should be off of the roller coaster known as Justin Fields.
Yeah, honestly, Donnie, and we're all screaming like, really? So now you want to bench him, huh? Because what
exactly.
You saw the first thing that you didn't buy it then? You thought maybe No, this is not the first go around with Justin Fields here. The fact that it took this long is mind-numbing here. But hey, congratulations. 0-17 watch is officially on, Donnie.
Yeah, let's remove the Vegas Raiders out of the equation. The Kansas City Chiefs sat their basic starters in the entire fourth quarter. Rashee Rice is back. He scores twice. They're back, the Chiefs.
Shocker. Been saying it. Don't bury the Chiefs just yet here. A lot of football to play.
Absolutely. How about this? A lot of football play left for Vanderbilt here. Top 10 Vanderbilt Commodores. Get out of here.
Got it done against LSU, even though they were lower ranked, Donnie. We told you about that in the spread lines.
Fire Billy. That's the chant at the end of the game. And the Florida Gators heard it and said, you know what? That makes sense. Billy Napier out of a job at Florida.
Yeah, he ain't the only one. There's another guy in Florida about to get booted out, too. His name is Mike Norvell. Keep an eye on that one.
Oh, what a tough loss there to Stanford. Oh, they got robbed at the end. Stop the man. This Florida State stinks here. How about Kevin Durant? $90 million extension with the Houston Rockets on the eve of the NBA starting up their season. We got a lot more topics to get to, which includes the spread lines, people, what you should be on the lookout for right here on the early line.
That Patrick Mahomes era, I'm not going to say it's coming to the end, but we've seen it slipping for the last 3 seasons. Even when they won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago against the 49ers, they shouldn't have even made the playoffs according to the metrics that year. And I think they're continuing to decline a little bit. And I'm not ready to go get all excited because they beat the Lions. Hey, they also lost to the Jaguars.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Great quarterback, the best quarterback in football. But when you play a 60-minute game of football on national TV and the referees do not call a single penalty against you when you committed 13 penalties the week before in a nationally televised loss, I'm sorry, but the jig is up.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Better bets, $90,000, FanDuel, New Jersey, LA. Oh, it must be some sharp hockey better. Yeah, or a rich kid with nothing better to do on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is funny. God rest his soul, Dave Sheriff always used to say, if he told me this one time, Gabe, he told me 1,000. It's not how much someone bets that moves line, it's who's betting.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin? Who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's get to the spread lines, people, and have some fun for this week. And by the way, you like some of those headlines from this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We got more of those topics on the way next, Joe. But it's almost like we say, money never sleeps here. And you got to get yourself ready for next week, which includes college football, Joe. Ole Miss, tough defeat this weekend. Oklahoma, are they back at this point with John Mateer? Oklahoma, Saturday, 12 noon kickoff, minus 4.5-point favorite here, going up against Ole Miss. The SEC getting down to business. This feels like one of those elimination games, Joe. What's the spread line for this one for you?
That's kind of exactly it. We're getting to that point in the season here, Donnie, where Oklahoma is at home getting ready for Ole Miss. And by the way, it's the first time ever that they will have played a game against another. And now you have 2 one-loss SEC teams in a huge spot, Donnie, like you said. Second leg of a brutal 2-game road stretch here for Ole Miss, by the way, who just lost to Georgia because of an absolute meltdown late in that game there. They had Georgia and just let them get up off the mat, and that's what happened. But the money early has been on OU. It's interesting, Donnie, because it opened up 3.5, 4, and now we're starting to see 4.5 starting to pop up. So it's been all OU money here. But this is the kind of spot I think is interesting for Ole Miss. I'm wondering when the money comes in here, Donnie. This is one we're going to keep an eye on all week long. Are you willing and believe enough into OU to leave that hook or more out there? I wonder when that Ole Miss money is going to hit the market this week.
By the way, the SEC was fantastic on Saturday. It's setting up for such a great finish to the season, which includes our next game we'll talk about, Joe, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night from LSU. Texas A&M comes to town unbeaten here, and this is a rarity to be this late in the season for A&M and still be unbeaten. But how about this spread? Look ahead line, LSU, roughly 5.5. That's no longer there. They're not even a favorite right now, Joe. Texas A&M now the favorite at minus 2.5, and Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers reeling once again after loss to Vanderbilt. Joe, your spread line for A&M and LSU, what is it?
All Vandy money early here, Donnie. It's interesting. And, top 10 team now, right? But again, 2 top 25 matchups here going at it. Number 15, Missouri. Number 10, Vandy. Is it me or is parity alive and well in college football that these are the two top 25 teams at this point this season as we head into week 9, both sitting at 6-1 here. I'm going to be interested to see. It opened 2.5, and we're starting to see some Vandy money. 3s now are starting to pop up, but Donnie, this is one of those things where I don't expect this to go any higher than what it is. I think 3 is where it's going to be. It might come back down to 2.5. I don't see this. This is a evenly matched game coming up here where pick your poison here. Can Missouri do what they just did in a unbelievable game that they played on Saturday, or is Vandy the real deal? I don't think the market has any idea what to do with this game, but we'll keep an eye on it.
What about the market for A&M LSU, Joe? I mean, come on now. 2.5-point line for A&M as well. What's the deal here?
Interestingly enough, LSU early money, Donnie, is what we're starting to see in this spot at home. And now they're backed into a corner, right? So what are you going to do here, Brian Kelly and company? What's it going to be? You're a 2-loss Tigers team. You're fighting for a chance to run the table here. And it's going to be tough. And by the way, Texas A&M has never won at LSU, has never won there. So this is going to be interesting. But these are 2 teams to me, Donnie, that are going in completely different directions. How this opened up at almost 50 points for a total is a little head-scratching, given the fact that LSU's offense is awful, absolutely awful. And I don't know that it's going to get any better by the time this game rolls around. I would bet under early this week as opposed to wait, because I don't see any over money coming into the market.
We might get some over money tonight. Let's take a look at some spread lines here in the NFL. 7 o'clock start on a doubleheader tonight in the NFL. The first game is Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. We might be getting Mike Evans. We might be getting Egbuka back here for the Tampa Bay Bucks, but we don't know. The one thing we do know, Baker Mayfield is in town. That secondary for Detroit, very suspect with injuries and also suspensions. Tampa Bay, Detroit. What is the spread line for you today, Joe?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because we thought we'd start to see once we saw the announcement for the suspensions and who was playing and who's not playing for the secondary there at the Lions, which, by the way, pretty much nobody playing for the Lions. The same secondary that got lit up by Mahomes and company a week ago. That's what Baker Mayfield is up again. And don't forget, I think people forget, the Buccaneers beat the Lions at Ford Field last year, 20-16 as a 7.5-point underdog. And I think Baker Mayfield and company, who, by the way, are getting reinforcements back, looks like Mike Evans is good to go in this game. There's entirely too much Detroit love in the marketplace for me, given the condition of that secondary and what Baker Mayfield is doing right now. It'll be interesting to see if there's any buyback before kickoff here. But right now, it's all about the Lions' money in the market.
Yeah, it feels like, Joe, once we get closer to game time, an hour and a half when the inactives come out, if you do see a couple wide receivers pop up active for Tampa, that might get that buyback. It might go the opposite direction if you get some stunning news like, oh, Mike Evans didn't have a good pregame workout at this point, so keep an eye on that. Houston and Seattle, game number 2 of the doubleheader. 10 o'clock start tonight, Joe. 3-point favorite for Seattle in a total. Let's hit it 41.5. Houston and Seattle, the spread line for tonight, Joe, is what?
2.5 is it opened at. It's sitting at 3 now, Donnie, and I don't know that you're going to get any more than this right now. So I think the total is the best approach here, and so did the market. This opened up at 42.5. We're down to 41s now. So the total seems to be the place a lot of people are going for this later game here with Seattle, who, by the way, the 12th man be damned, Donnie. They can't win in Seattle here. It's absolutely bonkers what's going on.
Yeah, by the way, Houston brings a good defense here. Maybe they busted out of their offensive funk on the season. And also understand this, Jackson Smith and Jigba, doesn't matter what defense he's going up, he's been an ultimate performer this season. But a doubleheader tonight in Monday Night Football, Game 7 in an ALCS, and a lot more information to get out to the people right here on the early line. It's what we do on a Monday, people. It's the Sports Grid Network. Good morning. Let's get after it next. What happened last night? Oh, boy.
That Patrick Mahomes era, I'm not going to say it's coming to the end, but we've seen it slipping for the last 3 seasons. Even when they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago against the 49ers, they shouldn't have even made the playoffs according to the metrics that year. And I think they're continuing to decline a little bit. And I'm not ready to go get all excited because they beat the Lions. Hey, they also lost to the Jaguars.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Great quarterback, the best quarterback in football. But when you play a 60-minute game of football on national TV and the referees do not call a single penalty against you when you committed 13 penalties the week before in a nationally televised loss, I'm sorry, but the jig is up.
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Better bets, $90,000, FanDuel, New Jersey, LA. Oh, it must be some sharp hockey better. Yeah, or a rich kid with nothing better to do on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is funny. God rest his soul, Dave Sheridan always used to say, if he told me this one time, Gabe, he told me 1,000. It's not how much someone bets that moves line, it's who's betting.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin? Who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Sunday Night Football, if you watched it all the way through last night, congratulations. Wasn't that entertaining after a somewhat, should I say, a 4 o'clock schedule yesterday that had some crazy football games and some crazy finishes here. Sonny writes out, and it's Joe Ranier. But yesterday we saw the San Francisco 49ers improve to 5-2. Injured, starting quarterbacks down, middle linebackers down, a bunch of rookies on defense. It doesn't matter. As Joe pointed out to start the show, coaching does matter. For the San Francisco 49ers to have Kyle Shanahan controlling the offense and Robert Saleh controlling the defense, those are some of the type of performances that you get. The Atlanta Falcons are a pretty good football team. The Atlanta Falcons have one of the best rushing teams in the NFL. How about 20 carries for 62 yards, 3.1 yards per carry, and no touchdowns on the ground? Congratulations, San Francisco. If you ever got healthy, you got the coaches to make a deep run here, and it just goes to show you. Sometimes it's not the Jimmies and the Joes. It actually is the X's and the O's, Joe.
It really is. Well, and it also helps to have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield there for you, because that was the Christian McCaffrey we've been waiting for when it comes to running the ball. The interesting part about the 49ers at this point, Don, is they have not been able to run the ball. They have used him more as a receiver than they have used him anywhere else. Now, a lot of that had to do, they did have some offensive line issues here, but not last night, because he dominated, and that offensive line dominated the front of Atlanta. And you didn't ask Mac Jones to have to throw for 400 yards. Why? 129 yards and 2 touchdowns on 24 carries. Oh, yeah, he still had 7 catches for 72 yards. This was all about the Christian McCaffrey show last night. He literally took that game over and single-handedly beat the Atlanta Falcons defense.
Yeah, you're right. And I missed on this one last night, because one of my favorite plays yesterday was the team rushing prop for Atlanta, coming into this game understanding how damaged that defensive line was for San Francisco. No Fred Warner. This is a perfect recipe to run the football. And Robert Saleh basically said, I'm going to put 8 to 9 guys in the box every single time and force you to pass the football, which Penix threw 38 times, only 1 touchdown yesterday, and a QBR rating of 30. So the pressure defense was getting home, and also a key fumble in that game, which you saw a strip sack in that first half against Atlanta here to sort of widen that league. But it was Christian McCaffrey. You do more with less, right? Hey, Juwan Jennings is coming back. He's still banged up. You take a look at Kendrick Bourne, he's an average wide receiver. You don't have Ricky Pearsall in this game. Brandon Ayuk, we don't know when he's coming back. You did just enough. Like, if you would have told me before this game, Joe, Mac Jones going to go 17 for 26, $152, no touchdown passes and an interception, and a passer rating of 64, you lose that game. No, they won by double digits because they played absolutely phenomenal defense. Bijan Robinson, one of the most electric players in the NFL, and he said, Donnie, if you have one running back to take, who's it going to be? It's probably Bijan. 14 carries for 40 yards, 2.9 yards per carry. The superstar of this game was not the offense. It was Robert Saleh and that banged-up defense.
Yeah, and they have, this kid, Tatum Bethune, is the backup now for Fred Warner, and he's kind of been thrust into this spot here, Donnie. And what did he do? Well, he had a second straight game now with at least 10 or more tackles, double digits in tackles. He's doing a tremendous job. But that is who Robert Saleh has always been for the 49ers the first go around. He did it with look at what happened to the Jets defense when they fired him last year. It went off a cliff, Donnie. There is a reason why this 49ers team, especially with this schedule, don't sleep on them. They're going to get healthier in all the other positions, but this defense certainly looked more than capable of stopping an offense that just ran over the Buffalo Bills less than a week ago, Donnie.
And also, you took a look at last week, going up against the Buffalo Bills. Drake London was unstoppable. 4 catches for 42 yards. Not good enough here in that performance. It was a close game into the fourth quarter, but a late drive put that one away for the San Francisco 49ers. And that's the way you get down to business. A key stop on 4th down for San Francisco propelled that game into the fourth quarter. Take a look at the NFC West marketplace now at this point. I'm still not buying the 49ers. Well, Donnie, how can't you? They're in first place right now, 5-2. They look good. I get it. I really do. I just don't think over the length of the season, they're going to be healthy enough to win this division. But they are the favorites right now at a plus 145. Or actually, looks like plus 140. The Rams are the favorite. And then you have the 49ers just behind them. The Seahawks, who also played tonight, and then the Cardinals at 100-1. I'm still not buying the 49ers because I just think they're too injured over the long haul, Joe. Am I wrong?
Listen, they're only going to get healthier, right? So some of these other guys will come back. Purdy will be back. It's going to be interesting to see. The schedule is favorable for them, But really, the Rams and Seahawks aren't going anywhere anytime soon. It's going to be a dogfight till the end.
Yeah, by the way, Rams look clean, put away, squared away yesterday. Matthew Stafford, 5 touchdown passes here. Didn't even need Puka Nacua, something certainly to keep an eye on. But you know what else we're going to keep an eye on? A doubleheader on Monday Night Football, 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock. 2 entertaining games anticipated. Which sides are going to get the edge? Come on back and find out. The early line on the SportsGrid Network.
The best part about it is that they're just going about handling their business. I was listening to Arvell Reese, is literally like 5-word sentences about himself and some of the things that Caleb has been talking about. The dudes are just so locked in here about just doing their job and not worrying about all of the other things and awards. They know all those happen when you go win and you win decisively.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Baker Mayfield is the most important player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are in first place right now, looking dead in the eye of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They played a bad division. They're going to win a lot of games, and they're the best fourth quarter team, or at least the 2-minute warning team in all football. So, don't sleep on that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Awesome and monumentous win against Oregon. Texas has saved their season. Texas has given themselves life to potentially crash the college football playoff party. For OU, a loss to Texas shouldn't be the end of your season. And yet with that remaining schedule, it feels like it could be. Books certainly pricing it that way. A lot of movement off of the Red River rivalry.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin, who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's play 2. We're going to do that tonight in the NFL. One game starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, the other one at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's Tampa Bay, Detroit, and it's Houston and Seattle. And if you look on paper, we should be getting some pretty functional games, which means a lot of scoring possibly in one game and some good defense in another one. Let's get started in game number 1, Joe. 475, 476 on the rotation. That's from Motown. The Buccaneers travel up to take on the Detroit Lions here. Great matchup, 2 good football teams. And we're seeing anywhere between, you see the placard coming up at -6 to 5.5 on where you're shopping at, in a total of 53.5 to 52.5. Baker Mayfield, he wakes wonders in the backfield. It doesn't matter who his wide receivers are, but to me, it does matter tonight. Detroit's a really good football team and especially good at home on offense. You need to meet fire with fire. And if Baker Mayfield can come in with a little bit more extra sauce at wide receiver, that's going to help, Joe. Let's start with that line. Call it -6. What gives tonight?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's been a steady, it feels like there was some Tampa money earlier in the week because this line dropped below 6 here. It was about 5.5. Even so, I think earlier in the week, 4.5, because you just didn't know who was going to be available for Detroit. Then, of course, the suspension and everything else. Listen, you want to back the Lions here, but again, what we saw with that secondary last week and how Kansas City, without Rice, kind of obliterated them and took advantage of the backups there. Yeah, I mean, look at the season that Mayfield is having, and he's getting some weapons back. It should give you a little bit of pause here because don't forget, I mentioned earlier, Donnie, they won at Ford Field there last year, Tampa. It's not like they haven't played this team tough. And I can make the argument when Ben Johnson was the OC there a year ago, that was a better offense and they still beat him. So this is a tough spot here for Detroit. They are, I think they're going to come out firing, but doesn't this feel like a much better game to look at the total? Because I'm not sure how either defense is stopping the offenses here.
Exactly. Like it's a game that took place yesterday. It's Dallas and Washington. You say to yourself, like, oh, well, wow, how's that game going to go now over 55 points when there's no wide receivers playing for Washington? Sometimes it just doesn't matter who's at wide receiver. It just matters on the defense. They blew that total out of the water, and you might get that tonight because Detroit doesn't care who's on your defense. They're going to score, and you're in a dome with a fast track, and the same thing with Baker Mayfield. We've watched him play with basically 3 tight end sets and no wideouts and still be able to move the football with ease. Jared Goff's passing prop tonight, Joe, 264.5. Baker Mayfield's 242.5, and a little bit different juiced on the touchdowns. But you see the quarterbacks. Usually it's 1.5 touchdown passes, -120, -130. That's not the case in this game. Jared Goff is a -220 price at some outlets to throw 2 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield, even without wide receivers that we're unsure of until we see the final inactive report, he's at -154 to throw 2. Expectations, a lot of touchdown passes and a lot of points.
Well, it's interesting because styles make fights here. And right now, this year, Jared Goff in Detroit, one of the best teams. He is throwing for more yardage against the blitz than he has in his entire career, Donnie. And we know what Todd Bowles loves to do, doesn't he? He wants that pass rush to come after him. Well, careful what you wish for because Goff has been lighting teams up this year that are sending everybody to go get him. So I think it's going to be an interesting chess match, but you also have to look at the fact that I think 11-0 against the number is what Detroit is with Dan Campbell following a loss. So they tend to bounce back in a big way. I just think this thing is going to become a crazy shootout here by the fourth quarter.
Touchdown props in this game, Joe. Jahmyr Gibbs, almost a -200 at most outlets right now. David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, also juiced here if you want a touchdown there. Rashad White, Mike Evans appear on that board at a +100 for Rashad White and a +115 for Mike Evans. If we're looking at a lot of points and a lot of touchdown passes, those wide receivers might get center attention. But you got to be kidding me, right? Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. It also feels like, the Notre Dame backfield at this point with Price and Love. Each one of them always get a touchdown, it feels like. That's why they're getting priced so high right now.
Again, high total like that, Donnie. I think everybody that was listed there, yes. Just yes. Touchdown, yes. Anytime touchdown, yes. They are all in play to get into the end zone here tonight. That would not shock me at all. All of them end up getting it done. But again, like you said, keep an eye on exactly who is playing the wide receiver position. Not that it has mattered much for Baker Mayfield, but boy, oh boy, would it be big to get his 2 best guys back in that lineup.
Absolutely. Let's head out to the Pacific Northwest, who, by the way, if you are a Seattle fan tonight, the fact that you're going to be watching your Mariners and also your Seahawks at the same time could be a tough scene right now. But if we take a look at the line itself, by the way, also, this is a 10 o'clock start at this point. So out on the West Coast, 7 o'clock, they'll be watching that game and maybe partying or being upset by the time that game does start. But it's a 3-point favorite for Seattle, the Seahawks, and a total of 41.5. Liked what I saw out of Houston on their previous 2 wins. Took a little bit of time off, coming back after the bye. We know the defense is really good. The question is going to be, are they healthy enough on offense to move the football tonight? Sam Darnold versus C.J. Stroud, -3, Joe. What do you think of tonight?
Yeah, I'm thinking C.J. Stroud is going to be under a lot of duress here because the Houston offensive issues have just been masked, Donnie, over the last month. They have not been fixed. That offensive line is a mess. It's one thing when you look good and competent, I don't know, in the fourth quarter against Tennessee, and then you played the JV squad of the Baltimore Ravens, and everyone's like, oh, looks like they have figured it out. Yeah, no, the Seattle defense is a different animal here, and they will be coming after C.J. Stroud and company here. I don't think we get a ton of points in here. I think this is a rock fight of a game, but I would only be looking towards Seattle in this spot. I just think that offensive line of Houston, it's going to come back to haunt them again in this spot.
225.5, Sam Darnold, his passing prop here. C.J. Stroud, 227.5. And the touchdown props here, much different, Joe, for throwing them than we just previewed in Detroit and Tampa Bay. To throw 2 touchdowns for Sam Darnold, +134. To throw 2 touchdowns for C.J. Stroud, +138. Plus money across the board. But as you stated, maybe the touchdown's going to be a little bit tougher to come by than that game number 1 tonight.
I think it is, and a lot of that has to do with the Houston secondary. No problems with this Houston defense, Donnie. I mean, Stingley is going to be all over JSN here. So are they going to, is he going to have the same kind of success? I doubt that very much. To me, this is going to be about who can run the football in the trenches. That is how Seattle's going to win this game.
Take a look at the touchdown scoring market for these guys. Again, we just talked about Detroit, heavily favored there, heavily juiced for the 3 top players. That's not the case tonight when you take a look at Seattle and also for Houston. The top players on the board, plus 135, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Zach Charbonnet, plus 140. And then the first Houston Texan to show up on the board, Joe, Nico Collins at a plus 150 price. And a lot of guys down the list with some really good plus money. How are we playing the touchdown market tonight between the Texans and the Seahawks?
A lot of RBs here, Donnie. That's what I think. It's going to be a lot of ground and pound, especially inside the red zone here. Yeah. Both of these defenses are going to be coming after these quarterbacks here. And I think the team that can run the ball is the team that's going to win this game. I would focus only on RBs in the touchdown market in this spot.
By the way, if we are looking at the running backs here, Joe, not like you had last night, like Bijan Robinson, a high number, going up against Christian McCaffrey, a high number. Kenneth Walker is the leader in the clubhouse right now in the odds market, 49.5 yards. Zach Charbonnet, 36.5. You get it over to the Houston Texans, Chubb, 35.5, and Woody Marks, only 29.5. Which running back, yardage-wise, on the ground, Joe, would you trust tonight, over or under?
It's kind of crazy, right? You know, I almost want to say maybe Stroud outrushes them all here, Donnie, because he's running for his life. And he might be the best guy to look at from a rushing prop perspective as well. I don't know what his number is, but something tells me he's going to be running here tonight a lot.
Yeah, by the way, if you look at the running props here for the quarterback, Sam Darnold, 5.5, CJ Stroud, 17.5. We'll see how that one certainly turns out. But Nick Chubb, Woody Marks in the backfield, that just ain't going to get it done. Still waiting on Mix. Is that guy ever coming back to the lineup for the Houston Texans? We don't know. But you know what we know next? Tom Vecchio is going to join us here. We're going to get the prop perspective on tonight's action and maybe do a little bit of a dip in the Major League Baseball. Tom Vecchio joins the early line next.
The best part about it is that they're just going about handling their business. I was listening to Arvell Reese and his literally like 5-word sentences about himself and some of the things that Caleb has been talking about. The dudes are just so locked in here about just doing their job and not worrying about all the other things and awards. They know all those happen when you go win and you win decisively.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Baker Mayfield is the most important player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are in first place right now, looking dead in the eye of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They played a bad division. They're going to win a lot of games, and they're the best fourth-quarter team, or at least the 2-minute warning team in all football. So, don't sleep on that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Awesome and monumentous win against Oregon. Texas has saved their season. Texas has given themselves life to potentially crash the college football playoff party. For OU, a loss to Texas shouldn't be the end of your season. And yet with that remaining schedule, it feels like it could be. Books certainly pricing it that way. A lot of movement off of the Red River rivalry.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin? Who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Wacky Sunday yesterday in the NFL. For more clarity, we got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football tonight. Tampa Bay, Detroit, followed by Houston and Seattle, 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock, sandwich in between a game number 7 in the ALCS. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Ranieri. Welcome in Tom Vecchio for some opinions here, maybe on some props and some sides. Tom, crazy day yesterday, but it continues once again today on a Monday.
It certainly does. Craziness across the NFL. You know, we did see a lot of favorites win yesterday, and then we had craziness in the MLB with the ALCS. Brady and I were live last night for that game. Got through some props with Vladdy with 2+ total bases. Should be an awesome game tonight. Kirby versus Bieber. I'm leaning Mariners. I think they have a better shot of taking down the Dodgers when it's all said and done. I think the pitching staff that they have can go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers.
By the way, also, Tom, we talked about it to open the show. Like, you got a doubleheader tonight in the NFL. You got Major League Baseball. You got hockey. And tomorrow, you got the NBA season starting as well. But before we get to the NBA season, you got a pretty good matchup here. Game number 1, 7 o'clock start, Tampa Bay and Detroit. Baker Mayfield, we know he's going to be there. We don't know who his wide receivers are just yet. We do know Detroit's going to be there. We just don't know who the heck in that secondary is going to defend whatever wide receivers show up in Tampa Bay. If we're looking for angles to play tonight, Tom, Tampa Bay and Detroit is about a 6-point favorite for the Lions. How are we doing that tonight?
I'm certainly expecting points, and I think a lot of people would be looking at things the same way, where probably some points in the first game, not so many points in the second game. I think it's pretty straightforward for that. When it comes to the Bucs, there are reports that both Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka are expected to play. It's more certain that Evans will be playing. Obviously, none of this is a guarantee. The secondary for the Lions is absolutely decimated at this point. They just don't have competent players. So I think the Lions' game plan should be, hey, we need to go out and we need to score 28 points, 30 points. We know the defense can't really stop anyone. We know that they like to run up the score at home. But if Baker and at least a somewhat competent team, and I don't know if it's somewhat competent is the right answer because he seemingly gets it done with everyone, they have to come back and score on the other side. And I think the Bucs will.
It feels like much like that Dallas-Washington game, Tom, where points are coming. Although last year they played to a crazy under that Tampa was able to walk away with the win here. So does it favor Tampa to try to get into a shootout here? Are they going to have a choice? Like, what do we think this game plays out like?
I don't think it favors Tampa to turn into a shootout just because the Lions are fully healthy on offense. They are at home, and we've seen what they do at home when, sometimes they're 6-7 point favorites. They win the game by 14 or 21. They can just steamroll teams at home because that's what they like to do. So when we're looking at how this game plays out, I think we're going to see passing early, at least from the Lions' perspective. And then we're going to see running late. And specifically running late, I think it's going to be David Montgomery for the Lions. And we saw, or I shouldn't say we saw, we heard some quotes from Dan Campbell earlier this week saying that he wants to restore balance to the backfield for the Lions. And, coach speak is a thing. It's like, we kind of got to sort through it. We got to take it with a grain of salt. But I tend to believe Dan Campbell, like when he says something, he's like, they're going to do it. They're going to go for it on 4th down. They're going to run up the score. That's what they end up doing. So I like David Montgomery over 43.5 rushing yards. I did consider his rushing attempts just because they want to get him Montgomery, this is more involved overall, but I just think the role that Montgomery has can put him over this prop in just a few carries because we've seen them break off those big runs this year.
Yeah, fun game tonight, setting up in game number 1. Total across the board between your shopping at 52.5 to 53.5. We are expecting points and no worries, but any weather conditions, that's a fast track in Detroit. Why? Yeah, it's turf and it's in a dome. Game number 2, outside, Tom, but not bad weather conditions. 60 degrees, no precipitation, light winds here for Houston and Seattle. The question is, which one of these teams is going to move the football? We do know each team has an elite wide receiver, but outside of that, sometimes it's flipping some coins here. Which angle would you be playing tonight in a game, Tom, that's listed around a 41.5 as a total?
Yeah, I also want to know which version of Seattle's going to show up because they win every game on the road, but you're supposed to have one of the better home field advantages, and you're seemingly bad at home, which certainly surprises me. I will say for JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba for the Seahawks, he has been unbelievable this year, and I'm not sure if that accurately describes it, but he will be going up against Derek Stingley Jr., so I think that presents an opportunity for some of those secondary and tertiary options on Seattle. I don't have a favorite one as of now. I actually have a favorite secondary option on the Houston side of things, and that's going to Dalton Schultz, their tight end, over 38.5 receiving yards. We know how good Nico Collins is, but ultimately, Nico Collins is a player that I like to see get down the field, or that's how they like to utilize him. The offensive line, as we've talked about for the Texans, is terrible. It's absolutely horrible. and a little bit of pass rush against C.J. Stroud. You got to get the ball out quickly. Let's get to a lower ADOT player like Dalton Schultz, pick up some yards. We see the Seahawks right now, going into, this past week, or I should say this week, they were bottom 10 in the league for most receiving yards allowed to tight ends. Obviously, that has adjusted because they have yet to play a game, but they're still allowing over 57 yards per game to opposing tight ends. I do think this presents a good spot for Schultz to be somewhat of a safety blanket for C.J. Stroud. Get the ball out quickly, get some first downs, and move it down the field.
This one, it feels like, is an absolute rock fight, and the one who can run the ball is probably got the leg up here. By the way, Seattle does have 3 starters on the defensive side back, including Witherspoon and their starting safety Love, so that should be interesting here. But I'm with you. To me, we were just talking about it earlier. From a rushing perspective, it feels like C.J. Stroud's going to be on the run a lot today. He might be running for his life a lot. So, looking at him for his rushing prop, 17.5 yards, may not be a bad look here.
I certainly don't mind that. And, part of me, I was thinking about C.J. Stroud under on attempts, where you just don't want to have the ball in his hands at a high volume. And when you have Chubb, who's been okay, you have Woody Marks, who I'm high on, and, he's had some good games. He had some low games. Like, they want to get him more involved. Ultimately, if you just keep the ball in Stroud's hands, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, just like, hey, we can kind of move the ball down the field, run it a little bit, pass it a little bit. We don't have to put them under too much pressure. The wide receivers haven't stepped up. The rookies haven't been there. It's kind of Nico Collins or bust. It's like, hey, why don't we take the under on his attempts, because they'll just try to manufacture the ball down the field instead of relying on him to be the guy to save them.
Quick rapid fire here, Tom, before we get you out of here. Number one, any thoughts on tonight's baseball game? And also, do the Rangers score on home ice tonight for the first time this season?
Stop.
I'm on the Mariners money line, and I'm already on the Wild money line. I bet on the Wild money line yesterday because the Rangers are just not scoring at home. They're scoring all these goals on the road, 3-4 goals. It's great to see. They came back against the Habs the other night. They can't score at home. I'm just going to bet against them every time.
Look at that. The Rangers looking for their first goal on home ice tonight. Oh, the fans are going to love that here. But by the way, what else do they have to look forward to here? The Jets and the Giants. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yesterday wasn't a great day. Tommy, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. We'll be right back on the early line.
$20 million too much as far as I'm concerned, but it's not like you're indebted to him or you have to follow through with him. Like, what are we doing? Try to win the damn game by bringing in a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the loyalty to Fields is here and why you thought he gave you the best shot at winning that game without going to the bench.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully these go better. I'm smashed before 1 on these games. I cannot believe that this game destroyed me. I can. Why did I get involved live? That's on me. Not
that
you.
Is on you.
All right.
That's on you.
You didn't have to run up the score. I said it was on me.
It was on you.
Right.
You just didn't see the writing on the wall. Knee it! Let's get out of Dodge!
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Can I get an ISO? Come on. Give me the ISO over here.
Give me the ISO. He wants the camera.
Look, I'm going to get nice and comfortable right now. I've been telling you people out there, yes, you people, about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. My connection to the Irish growing up as a kid. I hated that team. But they called me at the network the most unbiased man here, which means I'm giving you the information straight from the mouth here. You don't have to go anywhere. You get it from me.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I think Kendre Miller's role continues to grow in this offense. So I think as you're looking at bye weeks continuing on and looking for running back depth, as always, we all know the dynamic can change in a minute, right? We've done this so many times in the last couple of weeks. We were adding Woody Marks before his game. We were adding Brashard Smith last week. I still want to add Brashard Smith this week. I want to add the guys that I think have upside for the second half, and Kendre Miller is definitely one of those backs.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball, are you paying attention? Did you know Major League Baseball played over the weekend because it was a sensational Saturday of college football, a crazy, wacky Sunday, but we did have baseball last night. But before we even get to that, let's think back to Friday night because there were 2 games that played there. Best bet for me on the show was, you know what? I'm just going to roll with it. Give me the over 7.5 in that Mariners-Blue Jays game, and I'll live with it here. And boy, was I living it most of that game. No chance to go over until Eugenio Suarez happened with a grand slam in the bottom of the 8th inning to push that game over at a 6-2, which also gave the Mariners life in the building once again to take a 3-2 series lead. When I watched that game Friday night, a little bit of a microcosm, like it's all or nothing, it feels like, for the Mariners offense. You're hitting home runs, Joe, and you're hitting grand slams. It's great, but you want to put them to put together a walk and 2 base hits to score a run. It ain't happening, but they got the job done on Friday night, 6-2 to take that 3-2 series lead.
Yeah, you know, it was funny. We were talking about this yesterday on In Game Live, and the numbers are worth repeating. Listen, both these teams have done a great job of hitting home runs in the postseason. Heading into last night, both had hit 17. And, of course, both teams hit a few more last night. But the telling thing to me, Donnie, was you're talking about a Toronto team in this postseason that's hitting almost 295 as a team, while Seattle is barely hitting 200 as a team. So to me, that tells you everything. Toronto can manufacture runs, can beat you in a few different ways. Seattle, it's long ball or not. If you keep the ball in the park, Seattle loses. And that's the unfortunate situation they find themselves in tonight. If they hit home runs, they have a shot to win. If they don't, I don't know where else the runs are coming from for them.
Yeah, by the way, last night, too, you Savage. Great performance here. The nice bounce-back spot here. Game on the line, series on the line for you. You get a 6-2 victory last night, a carbon copy of what you saw the score on Friday night, and a deciding Game 7 tonight. But that's all fine and good. Let's go back to Friday night again, because there was a game number 2. The Brewers came in to this playoff run as the best team in Major League Baseball record-wise. The Los Angeles Dodgers, you knew the talent, and the talent did pan out in the regular season. They won a lot of baseball games, just not enough to be the best in baseball. But their run has been absolutely epic because why? They are getting starting pitching like we've never seen before. And as Joe talked about earlier in the show, you just look at Shohei Ohtani. What's he going to do on the mound? I don't know. Be filthy and absolutely dominant. What's he going to do at the plate? Hit 3 home runs. It's almost an illegal cheat code that if you did play in the NFL, he'd hold out in the offseason for more money, and they would probably double his pay rate from $800 million to $1.6 billion, and he still would be worth it. What we're seeing out of the Dodgers, and I just continue to use this term, they are sucking the soul and the life out of every city that they're playing because they give you no chance, and they just knock you right out quickly and make it a slow, painful death with elite pitching. But Ohtani, the superstar of all superstars, the biggest and the brightest in the sport, boy, he came to play Friday night, did he not? Wow.
The single greatest baseball game played by a player in the history of baseball, Donnie, and that tells you you need to know. I mean, again, he hit more home runs than gave up hits. And, you know, forget about Babe Ruth, there's nothing to compare it to. It is unbelievable what he did in that game. And now they got to be laughing because now here you go, Mariners in Toronto. Congrats! Now you got to go Game 7 again. Now you got to Now you got to bury the bullpens, and meanwhile they're sitting there just going, "Yep, well we're waiting. Whenever you guys are ready, we're good to go." Advantage Dodgers.
By the way, when is the start of the World Series? Like, do we know what day it actually starts on here? So it will be Thursday at that point? All right, yeah. So you run it down, extra time off. You have that full bullpen to get rested there for the Dodgers to try to work some out. And more importantly, on top of that, the starting pitcher staff. There we go.
Oh,
so it'll be
Friday
night, Joe. This is Friday night action. So the Dodgers, I guess you could say, well, the Dodgers are really good, so give them off extended time, so maybe they're not as good when they come back. But that's usually the opposite with a pitching staff. You give pitching staffs more rest, they come back even better, which you can't come back any better than what we've seen out of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But we will handicap and break down in hour number 2, Joe, that game number 7 tonight. But just you're watching performances that are incredible. When we started this Major League Baseball season, most people just said, give the trophy to the Dodgers. They're so talented. They were injured, banged up during the regular season, but they caught their stride in September. And how many times, Joe, do we tell the people out here, who cares what you did in April or May? It only matters when you get hot in September. The Dodgers absolutely red hot.
And they played it well. Give them their credit, right? They put Ohtani on the mound beginning in August, stretched him out, getting him ready for this. They handled it well. And now, well, here they are, 4 wins away from back-to-back championships.
How about that? Hour number 1 down, hour number 2 next year. Let's get to the early lineup and continue the fun right here on the early line.